Hey everyone, Gene here from Exploring the Myth. Remember, you can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram for exclusive clips and images, behind-the-scenes footage, as well as updates on future podcasts and stories.
So it looks like a lot of different fingers, but it's just the hair that goes out like.
Welcome to Exploring the Myth podcast.
Exploring the Myth podcast,
where we'll take a dive into the dark and unknown parts of the world. Now, here with your guides, Omar, Richard, and Gene.
I got a good one for you guys this week.
What are we talking about today?
All right. So it's not as detailed as Bloody Mary or has variations, but it's close to my heart because it's let's just start where regionally it's from. I want to kind of give it a little bit of a tense buildup because there's honestly not too much meat on this bone. Louisiana swamps, right?
Nice.
We've been to New Orleans. There's a vibe in the air where you just feel like there could be voodoo, there could be magic, and there could be a half man, half dog head out in the swamps that come out at night to bite people. And his name is the Rougarou. 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 And that's how I've heard it pronounced in Louisiana. So I'm basically an expert on how to pronounce Rougarou. The Rougarou, there's no real beginning part. It seemed to have morphed from French settlers. Everybody knows Louisiana Purchase used to be owned by France. And then there was this blend of Southern and Louisiana that kind of makes this country. They have a slightly different accent than most Southerners. They kind of make it. Every word is morphed a little bit to make it sound easier. Instead of pronouncing Rougarou, it's Rougarou because you can just.
You got that swamp people voice.
It's just get it out. So the Rougarou kind of came with France. France already had the werewolf legend. That was already, and that was a big if you're bad or if you're having premarital sex, whatever. Came to Louisiana, changed a little bit, and it became more of a. You either began it by getting cursed by voodoo to become the Rougarou, or you see a Rougarou, or you kill a Rougarou and the blood gets on you. There's a lot of blood involved with the Rougarou. What the Rougarou is it's like half of a werewolf from here, but then a man below. But during the day, you're yourself. So you don't go away and live in the swamp. You're amongst people during the day. You look really sickly. So you got pale skin. Yeah, pale skin. You're just kind of moping around. And then either at midnight or when it becomes dark, you turn into the Rougarou. And what you seek is blood. And the people you seek it from, there's two different ones. So it's either people you've known that have wronged you that you seek after. Well, there's three, I guess. Catholics who don't observe Lent either once or if it's 7 years in a row of not observing Lent.
6% of Catholics.
Or it's just misbehaving children. I guess the Rougarou is on the lookout for kids that don't listen to their moms and dads. So
interesting.
That's kind of the beginning part of it. I know you guys have heard about the Rougarou. What have y'all heard about it?
I found it actually started as the Loup-garou.
Yes.
From French.
Right.
And then when it came down, they put that Cajun spice on it and went with the Rougarou. It's pretty much the same thing. They use it as a scare tactic for kids, not to misbehave. The funny thing that I found, though, in 16th century, they would regularly blame various crimes on the Loup-garou. Right. And it was just a normal thing they did. like whether it's a burglary or whatever. And then what happened, villagers would capture the people that they honestly believed to be the Loup-garou.
Right.
And it was just just some random dude in the woods or just some person acting weird in town. And then they would have a public trial. Mm-hmm. And in most cases, they were guilty just because people were afraid to vote against it.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy, man, because it kind of fits perfectly into what you said, Richard, the Louisiana vibe and feel that there's something off there. You know, you've seen different movies and it just captures that so well. So this thing that could be out in the swamps, there's so many murky parts and kind of dirty parts of New Orleans specifically, and just Louisiana in general, but it kind of fits into that so good. And I don't believe it at all, but it kind of, but I get, and when I read stories, like I was reading stories, apparently there are like pockets of swamp people and stuff that actually believe the old, you know, stories and tales of it. And apparently they still abide by those, you know, rules to keep the Rougarou at bay.
For sure.
So I like the whole vibe of it. I don't believe it, I don't think, but but it's pretty interesting. It's very New Orleans.
Well, and it's like you said, New Orleans. So it's almost one of those things where if you're outside of it, it doesn't feel the same. Like I'm not worried about the Rougarou here in Texas. I don't ever think about the Rougarou. I'm not really worried about the Rougarou in New Orleans, but if you put me in a swamp in Louisiana at night, like some of me is going to be like, well, maybe not the Rougarou, but there's probably horrible either people. Like if I saw
Gators.
Gators, but I mean, you expect a gator, right? You expect if I saw a person in the swamp at night, I would just assume that's a murderer. That's a murdering.
I'm gonna die.
There's nothing at the swamp, and you have to kind of experience that. So, for our audience, if you haven't been to New Orleans, if you haven't been to Louisiana and taken that swamp tour guide and heard the story of the Rougarou while you're in the swamp, don't feel bad if you're like, why are you even talking about this? It's a big part of the culture in that specific area. It's not so much a national or global. I mean, it's part of a werewolf myth, but there's something very unique to New Orleans about it that makes it special. One of the special things that I liked about it that drew me to it, I felt like me and Rougarou had like a similar, like if I had to be a half man, half werewolf, I would be hitting people up for cigarettes and booze all the time. And for whatever reason, that's the story I heard the most of, is how to keep like the Rougarou happy and not coming after you. I remember we went to a museum. But it was like a crocodile. It was totally different. It was a crocodile head, and then it said like leave $1 and leave a cigarette. And in looking into it a little more seriously for the show, instead of just kind of like, I like that Rougarou guy. Like it seems like a cool Rougarou. There's nothing about that at all. Never. I didn't read one single thing about giving them cigarettes and liquor or beer to keep them away from you. I did read some pretty interesting things that would keep the Rougarou away from you, though. Have you read some of that?
That they can't count past 12. You turn to a Rougarou and you forget to count.
That is a freaking gym. That is a gym of.
I could not believe it.
So the most common thing is to put 13 items in front of your door, because at night when the Rougarou is going through the streets of New Orleans looking for the people who like didn't have lint, or they're misbehaving kids, or maybe it's just someone that you've wronged in their past life, the Rougarou can't count to 13. And why he even counts anyways, I don't know. Like if you're got blood on your brain, why would you even start to count? Like that's
I never got that.
So he can't count to 13, so he'll always go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then he'll get stuck because he can't. He doesn't know what's after 12. And so he'll get stuck there trying to remember, starting over again, stopping at 12, starting over again, stopping at 12, until the sun's about to come up and he has to rush back out to the swamp.
He's like,
and there's no origin. There's no origin of that.
No,
go ahead, Gene.
No, people either leave coins or rocks. That's the main thing. You can leave anything,
right,
but the main thing is either coins or rocks or pebbles. And no, it just hangs out all night, just counting, trying to figure it out. And next thing you know, it's sunlight, and then they bounce. I guess they'll either turn to a human again or whatever.
I read one where it was something. There could be a similarity between like midnight and the stroke of midnight, and not going past. Like if it happens at midnight, or I guess it depends on which section of the myth you're kind of going along with. But one of them I read was that it's believed because he's never the Rougarou past midnight, or he only becomes a Rougarou at midnight. So it never gets past 12 for him, or something like that. But it's still.
Oh, yeah. I saw that. Yeah.
I don't understand why you would even be bothered by an amount of things, like a number of things. there's a lot of things to count to. So, I mean, if you're the Rougarou, you just start counting anything, or maybe specifically pennies or rocks, because there's always going to.
It's just like, go on.
There's always going to be like something to count. If you're walking around, how many cracks are in the sidewalk? 1, 2, 3. Like he would be a horrible monster if that's what he just always like.
It's like those memes where they have the equations going on in their head and they're just like,
I know, right?
perplexed.
It seems like he wasn't thought out past being a boogeyman for Catholic sinners or children,
right? Like
on the base level. And we kind of talked about this on the last episode, whether it's released or not, whatever. But yeah, there's like a clear reason why he was made, and it doesn't get much more like substance after that. It's like the surface, we get it. Other than that, it kind of starts falling apart.
It doesn't, and it's such a big thing in Louisiana. There's the Rougarou Festival every year. It's huge. Thousands of people go to it. There's bands, live music, and everybody's dressed up like a Rougarou. And it's towards the end of October, so it's around Halloween. It's kind of like their unofficial sponsor of spooky and scary. But yeah, there's some legends that are so convoluted, or maybe not convoluted, but probably their intended meaning was very well hidden. So that way you wouldn't go like, oh, sure, because go to bed or the Rougarou is going to get you probably only works till about 6 or 7 before you're like, no, there's no Rougarou. But yeah, the whole Catholic Church thing is oddly, I don't know why
they're really dogging on him.
It's like so obviously made up. It's so very obviously like, you don't have to do Lent. But if you don't, there's a half man, half dog out there in the swamp that's going to kill you. So it just seems too, I don't know, that one doesn't have the origin story isn't as fun as the living legend itself. Like there wasn't a lot of depth into going like, how did this come to be? And I think it was pretty on the fly.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
Going back to the different names, you know that the Pelicans were almost named the Rougarous.
Yeah.
That's how I did not know that.
That's how popular the Rougarou is in Louisiana. But it's just so contained. Wow. It's so contained. It's funny that it just didn't catch on. I mean, I guess it's like I don't know. It's like that's our, we're swamp people and we got a Rougarou. Like it's fun for us. We like that's our
we have chupacabras. We have the chupacabra in Texas. That's like the Chihuahua version of the Rougarou.
Yeah.
I don't think we respect it as much. I don't think we would never name this. Was it the Spurs or is it the Chupacabras? Right. Let's go with the Spurs. Like, I don't think we care enough about it. But it is as big. Like we know about it though.
And some of the things about the Rougarou seem like they're just designed to where like you can never get your finger on it or you can never find one. So one of the things is like the many ways of becoming a Rougarou, which supposedly lasts for a period of time. It's like 100 days or 101 days or something like that.
101 days.
Yeah. So one way you can become the Rougarou, there's one theory that the Rougarou is never one person. It's just always being shifted to different people. Mm-hmm. So let's say you see the Rougarou, you look in its eyes. One legend is that you become the Rougarou. And if you want that to end at 101 days, you can't tell anybody about it until the 102nd day, which by that time, 3 months ago. Oh, so for the last 3 months, you were the Rougarou. I mean, and it's not like you can turn into the Rougarou when the sun goes down and be like, see, I told you. Because that's how you break the spell. So it's a very obvious way of like kind of keeping it a legend and keeping it like something you can never really prove. Because if you are the Rougarou and you don't want to stay the Rougarou, you have to be quiet and not tell anybody for 101 days. And then you stop becoming the Rougarou. Then you can tell everybody you want. You just can't prove it.
Yeah.
Which is silly. I mean, it's just there's not a lot of.
Yeah, it's all about keeping secrets, and if you can't, then you're a Rougarou.
Yeah, it's like the perfect. It's like the perfect myth because they designed it in a way where you sound crazy, or it doesn't matter if you do tell someone because then, so it's crazy, man.
Yeah, that goes like there's a story of this that I found of this boy who was walking home, and this dog was following him. This was this like large white dog, and it kept like nipping at his heels. So the boy kills the dog, slices it open, and then it appears as this man. And it tells the kid, hey, I sold my soul to the devil, for prosperity or, money or whatever. And it tricked me and turned me into this beast. And he's like, and now you're the beast and you can't tell anybody about it or else you'll turn into it. And that was it. Yeah. He's like, and then the guy died. What does the kid do? He goes and tells all of his friends.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, he's disappearing at night. Nobody knows where he is. And then he just shows up in the morning, just randomly. And it went on like that for like several months. And then next thing you know, the kid got found dead in the middle of the street. And the police thought it was like suicide. But now somebody else is the Rougarou now. Boy's dead.
Boy's dead. You know what that means?
That's it.
Apparently there's a fixation of the Rougarou with blood. So it drinks blood.
A vampire?
Kind of like a vampire. It's kind of like it's intermixed with a little bit of werewolf, a little bit of vampire. And then with the becoming a Rougarou also has blood centered around it. So if you happen to stumble yourself across a Rougarou and you got a nice knife on you or something like that, or something that makes it bleed, if any of the Rougarou's blood gets on you, then you become the Rougarou. So one of them makes it to where if you look at the Rougarou, you can't say anything for 101 days. The other one makes it to where you can't even kill the Rougarou because you'd be so afraid of getting its blood. So maybe you think you saw the Rougarou, and that's the only story you're ever going to tell people. Because why would you want to go try to catch it and kill it? So you're only going to, I think I saw the Rougarou in the way distance, but I don't want to get my, I didn't want to try to kill it.
Yeah.
It creates these very convenient borders and boundaries for people to not really seek it out, because just looking at it could turn it into you. Or if you do go try to kill it, you're going to turn into it. It kind of really puts a damper on the exploration. Like, let's go try to find that Rougarou. Because nothing good's you're either going to see it or you're going to, have a fight with it and it becomes, or you're going to die because it's going to kill you. So
yeah,
it seems very on face value what the reason it has it for, and then also some of the ways that they try to keep it from, or keep it alive, I guess but I think it's because it's so much fun. It's just I don't know why I love the Rougarou.
Because of beer and cigarettes. That's why it was. That's when it was cool.
Kind of. I just had the
It was a party monster.
The Rougarou seemed like, I don't know why, but I always thought of them as like cunning and like smart but evil. So it just like kind of just
fucking joke,
creep up on her, like climb down from a tree and welcome to my swamp. I see you've made it. Like it just, right. I said, cigarette liquor. Oh, thank you. And then climb back up the tree.
Feel free to stay a few hours. Right. And after that, he would leave you alone. Be like, hey, stay for a while.
Right.
And you'd be comfortable. And you'd have a date out there and they would have a lovely evening after you paid your dues to the Rougarou. But I get the vibe too. Like he he does feel like that slick and slimy guy, but good to have on your side. Like a mafia guy. Like it's good to be in with the mafia a little bit, not to be in with the mafia, but to kind of have some on your back and kind of like he feels like that kind of slimy. I know what you mean. You pay your dues, but it pays off in the end whenever he's got you, he's got your back.
Yeah, he's like the Joe Pesci of monsters.
What's fun, I wonder if that's kind of like, it's such a generalized, kind of obviously not real thing that people just create their own Rougarou in their head. Maybe that's what's so like catchy about it, where people that live there and hear about it, they kind of, because I definitely have a Rougarou in my mind that was not the Rougarou I researched and saw. And then there was different versions of it, but I have my Rougarou. My Rougarou talks. My Rougarou is like wicked, but in a smart way, like evil, wicked, like trying to trick you. Like,
so what you're saying is
it's like Build-A-Bear.
The Rougarou is more of a feeling than anything. Is that what you're saying, Richard?
You're hooked on a feeling.
It's like a vibe, yeah.
It's a vibe.
Oh,
it's perspective.
It is a vibe. Rougarou is a vibe.
There is.
I mean, it all.
But
And it caught on with all of us.
Werewolf.
When we had our trip to New Orleans, that was like that was one of the main.
That was the best part.
We were like the Rougarou, like it for what? There's something
We thought everybody was a
there's
Rougarou.
something enchanting about that Rougarou story for no reason. Because when you really look into it, maybe it's like they tell you like never meet your idol or never meet a legend in person. Because then it's like, that's not what I expected. I thought it'd be this. Maybe you shouldn't look into the Rougarou. Maybe you should just go to New Orleans, kind of hear about the Rougarou, take the swamp tour, let the boat guy tell you about the Rougarou, and then you fill in the Rougarou with the rest of your mind. Like what? Because that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I did. I just filled what I wanted out of the Rougarou, and then I just liked it. And then that was my that was my feeling, like, back in New Orleans, in the swamp.
We saw it in the shrine.
Right.
So you saw it in the swamp. We saw it in the shrine. We went in this this.
No, I didn't see him in the swamp.
Cave. we saw. I was like, we saw him. We saw him at the swamp.
No,
tour.
I saw him in.
I was like, what the hell?
I didn't. I saw him in the.
We went in the Cajun Museum. They had like a shrine for him.
Interesting. But what Gene is saying kind of goes along with what you're saying, Richard, because you didn't see him in the swamp, but the way you see him is kind of in the swamp. And Gene has his perspective on it, and he's always sees him in the museum.
Right. Yeah, the museum. Dude, they had this shrine with this like alligator with like a
but that tells you your perspective on it. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. It's not even an alligator. That was a weird.
It's
thing.
like
it's supposed to be a werewolf.
The story just writes itself.
Well,
bro.
that one I think is just a tourist trap because there's not a.
It is a total tourist trap.
That is just a straight up like they just collect.
That's when we give them the cigarettes. Right. You give them the cigarettes and the dollar in there, and there's so many cigarettes and dollars.
And it made me so happy too to give the Rougarou. I was like, Rougarou, I get you, man. Here's $1.
We were
here's
safe.
A cigarette. That's what I would do.
Protected the rest of the trip.
If I think maybe it shows a little bit about, what's really on the inside. Like if I was damned by voodoo or by an unfortunate glance at the Rougarou, or I'm just a badass that went and killed the Rougarou, got some blood on me, and I became the Rougarou. I think that's how I would be. I would be more fun with it. I wouldn't want to just go kill people. I would.
That's who you would be.
That's the Rougarou. I would want to be like slither down from a tree branch and welcome to the swamp. I am the Rougarou, and they're like, we got a cigarette for you, Roo.
I picture you in a long leather coat. I don't know why you have a long leather coat.
Yeah, you got duster, slick back hair,
duster.
I'm trying to think.
A wolf head.
A wolf head?
Yeah, gotta have a wolf head.
You still have slick back hair.
You could. But that's definitely a destination one. I guess we're giving free publicity to New Orleans and Louisiana.
To New Orleans.
You're not going to feel it. If you've never been there, I guarantee you're listening to this right now like, that's not probably a great topic. I mean, unless we're just so great at telling the story, you can kind of get the vibe of it.
I did find this. There was actually a Rougarou movie made in 2016.
Yes, there was. And there's a Rougarou song that's probably just as bad. I've never seen the movie, but
Can imagine.
I pulled up the summary. In rural Louisiana, 11-year-old Sabine's widower father misses Ash Wednesday Mass, so she pushes him into giving up drinking for Lent. He breaks his vow. evoking the wrath of the Rougarou.
So they went with
A mythical what?
nothing.
Dude.
I wish
A mythical bayou beast who punishes bad Catholics. Now Sabine has to step up to save him from the monster, risk losing her only living parent. Sounds like
I wish that's not the route.
80% Rotten
I
Tomatoes.
wish that's not the route they went with the movie. I mean, it's funny because there is not going to be a scary movie about the Rougarou, right? It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
There's not going to be a good song written about the Rougarou. It is more of a vibe. It's more of like just fun. It's just more fun.
I want to see the shirt, Rougarou. It's a vibe.
It's a vibe specifically when you're walking down those, those pebblestone roads, narrow, old French colonial style buildings, and it's just you got like you're in another time. You feel like you're in the 1700s or 1600s, and it's like maybe.
Yeah.
Having that feeling of being in that old timey town. I think back to like if there ever was a Rougarou, it would have been then, and that's when you had existed. And I feel like
that's when all monsters exist.
And I feel like somehow I'm transported back to that time when I'm there.
I definitely feel it. And I don't know much. I didn't do research on like werewolf, but when I think of you said it when you said that there's not going to be a scary Rougarou movie. Same thing with werewolves. I'm not terrified of them, but it is a vibe. It is like I think of Paris too. I think of like that French feeling as well with werewolves. So it connects. It's weird in that same. Yeah. So, but the Rougarou definitely embodies the swampy colonial Frenchness to it. So it kind of gives it a more Southern American feeling, but it's weird because those types of creatures, they don't scare you, but it's a feeling. We're getting really in touch with our emotions over the.
For the listeners, Loup-garou means werewolf in French. So
yeah, and it came over more of a French story.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we can thank the French for the werewolves. Thank you.
I don't understand why. I have the same exact connection. I don't know if it's because there's always that super popular movie, American Werewolf in Paris.
That's exactly what it is.
Or if it's just that's where it originated from originally. Like,
that's exactly
or that.
What it is.
I guess that's another.
You're giving the whole credit to the movie.
That's exactly what it was. Bro.
Nobody thought that until that movie was made in the 90s, and then that's how everyone
I didn't even think about it. No.
But I think it goes back longer. Aren't the French the originators? Excuse me, of the werewolf?
I think so. I think that's where it came from.
Yeah. Dracula's from Transylvania.
Where is Transylvania?
I have no clue. That's for the geography podcast.
Yeah. Well, and also the New Orleans. I mean, there's so many cool little side stories. Maybe it's a mix of. In totality, when you hear all the stories, the Rougarou is just it's almost like a piece of a puzzle. On its own, it's not that big of a deal. But when you fit it in perfect with like the landscape, the geography, the vibe, the old feeling, it's just one of those like, I'm really glad the Rougarou is a part of New Orleans and its myth and its history. And they got a lot of fun little ones.
Question. If Rougarou had a sidekick, who would it be? Monster sidekick.
He sounds.
I think he rolls solo.
I mean, he's literally a.
Think he's a solo?
He's like literally a lone wolf.
He's a lone wolf.
He's
okay.
The way that Richard you describe him is like the way a lot of those newer scary movies portray like the devil. Whenever he comes through to our world, he's always like that sly kind of like, let's make a deal. And he has long fingernails and a long trench coat, and he shakes your hand and he slithers off after you make a terrible deal with him. You sell your soul, whatever. So I don't picture him with a sidekick. I picture him as like kind of like what Richard said, like the man. Like he's a lone wolf.
Lone wolf.
He's just got these evil plots he's always planning and
yellow eyes.
Yes, and just
I thought they were pink eyes.
Long, like super long
I just
fingers.
picture him, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
He just always has an awkward stance. His hands are they're never just at their side. It's always
or he's like you. Yeah, he always like does weird stuff with his hands
and long
playing with his fingernails.
Perfectly manicured.
And long fur too. So it looks like a lot of different fingers, but it's just the hair that goes out like cigarettes you brought me. It just does that.
He has the worst smoker's cough. He's like, I moved on to vaping. Where's your vape pen? Kid.
Where's your vape pen? He's in the now.
I think I heard and I never hear too many stories about the Rougarou. Even when, we were on a swamp guided tour, and this guy brought up the Rougarou, the boat captain driver, like, they Rougarou in these swamps, and you need to know, some people think it's a myth, but it's not a myth. There is a Rougarou. And it just gave, like, I think somebody asked him, like, is that a real thing? And he just had a pause, real dramatic, looked at him and, oh, the Rougarou's real, all right. But there was no story of like,
oh, he real.
My cousin came out the other, like they never had I never heard anybody tell a Rougarou story. I've just heard people be like, don't be foolish. Don't come out here at night or something like that. But there's never, I don't know any firsthand accounts of the Rougarou.
But technically there's rules you follow where you just won't encounter him if you just follow the rules. Whether he's real or not, you just follow the rules and you'll never encounter him, correct?
Right.
Am I correct with saying like the main story?
If you're a good child, if you observe Lent.
Don't be Catholic and listen to your parents.
Yeah. That's pretty much the way out.
Just always put 13 pennies on front of you. Like if you're going to do both, if you're going to be a shitty Catholic and just be a bad child, just throw it doesn't even have to be 13. It just has to be more than 12. So just throw a bunch of rocks. Just go pick up some rocks and throw them in front of your door every now and then. That's all. That's all I got to do for the Rougarou.
Yeah.
Which doesn't bode well for my inside, my mental picture of Rougarou. My Rougarou.
You would still leave like
my Rougarou would pick it up and be like, 13, and toss the 13th rock out of the way. Like he would kick it
out of the way. Back at 12, baby.
What a preposterous, silly thing they tell these children, not count to 13.
Or he grabs the rock and just smushes it and it's his dust.
Exactly. Crushes it.
Your Rougarou sounds like a Disney villain. I don't know why. There's just something about him.
I like him.
Jafar. Yeah, he's kind of like a Jafar
total
character.
Jafar. Yeah, you got that Jafar swag for sure.
Yeah, well, how about some stories, Gene? I know you're the story guy. I know you got some stories about the Rougarou.
Man, I found this story. I found another one about, and they're just, it just goes with everything else we found. It was a couple camping in the woods, in a swamp for whatever reason. Maybe that's what people do in Louisiana. And the wife goes walking outside, and she locks eyes with a Rougarou. And he turns back into a man, and she basically keeps this secret from her husband for 101 days, just so, or else I guess she would, in this story, she would have became it permanently, or something would have happened. So she just, I don't know what she told him to fake looking like shit for 101 days. But she just basically lived as a Rougarou, and that was it. There wasn't a whole lot, it was a short subject.
Right.
I did find these werewolf hunters in Alabama. They are legit. Gosh. They are so. I'm like, all right, well, let's see what we got going on with normal werewolves. And I will say they're pretty legit. They it's like a whole group of them. They'll go and they'll get what they'll hear whatever story you find, like all over the country. They'll do their research and then go and check it out. They haven't found anything yet, but they specialize in I think it's called the Lupine Project.
So they're
Project
playing
Lupine.
this Are they playing this as if it's like they're serious, or is it for
No, dude,
entertainment purposes?
They're serious. They're like they got a whole crew. Yeah, man. They go with teams to track them. They look it up. They go and
Just to capture it on video or to kill them?
To kill them, just find the truth. See if they really exist. And we'll probably dive into these guys because they definitely dive into a lot of other monsters that we'll tap into later.
But not
there was this one.
They haven't gone after the Rougarou yet.
Well, I'm putting the Rougarou in the
general.
I'm classifying that as a werewolf. Yeah, the general classification of a werewolf. So yeah. There's one where they look for the Snallygaster, and that's this other crazy bird reptile thing that we'll dig into later. But I mean, that's really it.
There's no horrifying tales of the Rougarou
there is that YouTube video I sent y'all about that Alabama man.
Oh yeah,
who claims they shot a werewolf. We were just hanging out in the swamp, and he saw this white thing with I think pink eyes, fangs on the top and bottom, and it was just staring right at him. And he's like, it looked at me like it was gonna kill me. It won't go chase me down. It was gonna kill me. And and then he shot it, and he said didn't go down. So he ran like 100 yards to his truck, and then drove off, and that was it.
Alabama seems like a very odd place for a werewolf doesn't fit in Alabama.
Really? What kind of monster fits in Alabama?
I don't know. Something like it's got to be like a real southern night, like a Jabanga line, like or something.
Jabanga line.
We got the monsters called Jabanga line. That should be in Alabama, not werewolf. No one in Alabama should even say the word werewolf. I saw werewolf. Like it doesn't fit.
Well,
it's called a shebang. I loved it. It's just so good. No, I love
that.
It.
Could be
this guy called a monster a coon dog, but I can't tell.
That's
yeah.
That might
called coon dog. I feel. Let me see.
I always heard the story about the white.
What would you call him? A changalang, or what would you call him, Richard?
Changalang.
No, not changalang. It was
I thought you called him a changalang.
Something with a possum, though. I pictured that one having to do with the possum.
Possum is just once he steals your gold. He's just winning these gold changs. And he's just fucking dancing around.
Gosh.
I can't imagine werewolves in Alabama. It's not hitting right. The thing about the Rougarou in Louisiana is because there is that Frenchy kind of like European. There's nothing European in Alabama at all.
Yeah, I don't feel it.
No.
And werewolves are very European to me. I don't know why.
Well, they're just based in Alabama. But you're right. They seem legit.
Yeah.
I saw the biggest platonymous. You seen a platonymous, Jim? I seen a platonymous.
Not to get into it right now, but for future episodes, we need a monster from Florida because
there's got to be
has to be a train wreck of a monster.
Florida's going to be a gold.
I can't
mine.
Imagine.
Florida's a gold mine.
Yeah,
we'll get into that in a future episode.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my god,
just already alienating different states.
So I want
sorry, Floridians.
It's just a retired community. That's it.
We could probably do a whole season on Florida alone. We could get a good 5-6 episodes out of New Orleans, but Florida is just probably endless with local legends, regional monsters or myths, and there's probably statewide ones, and probably just weird ones too. That's just specific to Daytona. Like in Daytona, we only in Daytona.
Everyone
knows in Daytona they got the something. The gator fish. It's half gator, half fish.
Gator
fish.
Half gator, half fish.
They're just getting
gator back.
It's called alligator gar.
Gator.
They're just not even creative with it.
It's just a gator.
It's just a gator. It's a gar. No.
What is a gar?
A gar is basically like half of an alligator, half of a fish. It's got those tight.
So we have them in Texas.
It's called an alligator gar.
They look like alligators, kind of. Or if it's just a mix of like a marlin and a I don't know, like a coyote or something. I don't know what they have in Florida.
Marlin. I think a gator coyote would be like hybrid would be a cool Florida monster. It's like coyote body with alligator tail, alligator head.
The funny thing about Florida is like
just trotting along.
It's just always going to get. There's going to be something like it's Florida. Like I'm not going to be that. Like when it's something crazy, I'm not going to be like, how could they? Like with Alabama and like werewolves in Alabama, nothing that you tell me about Florida am I going to be like, what? Like that's anything you tell me that Florida, like Floridians believe in or have it. I'm like, yeah, that's Florida.
This is all right.
Florida happens. I wonder who there had to have been an originator of the Rougarou, but do you think it would have been? Do you think the church would stoop so low to come up with the Rougarou for Lent, or do you think it was more concerned parents about their kids not doing Lent and not behaving like?
I wouldn't put it past either of them.
I don't see the church doing it so much because then you're kind of like. You're starting to believe in other things than what they're teaching you to believe in. Like it doesn't really benefit. I don't think so. It doesn't benefit the church.
I don't think the church would be a person in general.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, that's built into religion to say if you don't do this, you go here. If you do the wrong thing, bad things happen. So it's kind of already built into the religion, like that. They pound that in regardless with the Bible. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's that. I think it was more. And it could be judgy people. I don't think it specifically has to be parents of bad kids. It could have been just people who want you in the church, who want you to be better, or who want people to be better. But that's a tough one. I don't know what came first, the kids or the Catholics.
I think it originated with the Catholics, and then it morphed into the bad kids. I think that was the original thing. But that's probably just like the nosy neighbor. That sees you eating beef on whatever day you're not supposed to have. Well, I mean, I guess Lent could be whatever you want, right? Lent is not anything specific. Or you're not supposed to eat meat on Lent.
It's Friday, right? Is that Good Friday?
Isn't that part of Lent?
Good Friday? No, it's Good Friday, right?
I don't know.
There's something you have to give up. And so
I think you choose something to give up, like an indulgent thing. That's what I think my understanding is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it's
I know,
I'm not honor system.
I was raised with it, and so you had Good Friday, which kicked off Lent, and you don't eat any meat. So that's why you'll see all the fish burgers at McDonald's and like Burger King and stuff.
Oh yeah, on Fridays.
Yeah, on that Friday, because people just won't eat meat, and then you give up something for the entirety of Lent. And that, I mean, I know there's some reason for it. I feel like I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. But either way, you give up something for the entirety of Lent, and then it ends on Easter.
Yeah.
So it ends on Easter Sunday.
Oh, okay.
I think it has to deal with Jesus or God being, coming back to life, being dead and coming back to life or something like that.
I don't think it's fair that you get to pick your own thing you give up for Lent. I think that should be chosen by like someone that knows you really well, because I'm not Catholic, but if I were Catholic, I would just be like, all right, for Lent, I'm just not going to be eating turtle soup for 30 days. Like I'm giving up turtle.
I know I used to think that too. And whenever I had talked to, I think Buddy about it, Buddy, our mutual friend. And I think his thing was, well, if you're not that serious about it, you're not going to do it in the first place. You only do it if you really believe, and you only, if you're going to really believe, you're going to participate sincerely. So he would give up something like sodas like mac and cheese, like something sincere because he really believed it, So you're not going to participate if you just kind of don't care,
or feel good. Like, well, I am participating. I gave up.
True.
Mustard. Yeah. And you never like mustard anyway. Like you never, but I give it up. Technically I gave something up.
Yeah. I see that.
And then, so you're not sincere anyway, but you're kind of just doing it for show.
Yeah. So it's like not count.
It wouldn't count anyway. Yeah. But
we got this totally wrong.
What?
Lent begins on Ash Wednesday, which is also held 46 days, 40 fasting days, and 6 Sundays before Easter Sunday. Okay, there we go.
It's a long time to give something up.
46 days? Mm-hmm. Well, depends how devoted you are, Rich.
Well, I mean, obviously it was such a problem that people had to make up a story about a freaking wolf man in the swamp that'll eat you if you don't. True. It's not easy. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a Rougarou to begin with. Rougarou was necessary for its time. He was necessary for its time.
He was a necessary evil.
I think Rougarou is just misunderstood. Rougarou just likes to party, just likes to drink, and then he's got this like ordained godly mission of killing people who don't observe Lent. Makes
He
total
is the cultivation. He's the cultivation of Lent. Everything you give up is Rougarou. That is him.
That is him.
That is it.
struggle
We're
that
there.
you feel is a Rougarou.
We have
What if-
found it out. That is who he is.
What if he kept the church alive? Like, what if
right.
if had not that been created, the church would have just dissolved. And
Like an image of
nothing
Atlas.
would-
It's just him holding.
It would,
the
yeah,
picture.
the Catholic Church would not be what it is today without the Rougarou.
Well,
That's how important he is.
so the what we have to realize here, gentlemen, guys, what we have to come to terms with is that the Rougarou was the most devout Catholic in the history of all time. There's nobody else that was that dedicated where it's
True.
like, if I find out, let me find out. Let me hear you didn't take your Lent. You didn't do it. Let me find out. And I'll suck your blood out. I promise you. I'll be in the swamp. And don't make me come. If I get out of the swamp, when I come out of that swamp, somebody's going down. So play if you want. Play if you want. And he's just real sassy. Play if you want to. And he's from Alabama.
Okay.
He's from Alabama. Play around if you want to. play around with the Rougarou. Find out what happened. Rougarou.
Well, I have a serious question, and I don't know if this came up. It didn't come up in my research. Does this apply everywhere, or is this only? Does he only pop up in if you're in?
I've only heard
Louisiana.
it in the swamps. I've never heard it getting past.
Yeah.
I've never heard it getting past that Louisiana swamps.
But there's no like canonized like rule that says if you're in New York and you don't follow Lent that he can come get you. Or
Well, that would be the Lougarou.
Okay.
That would be the regular werewolf.
Yeah, but it didn't
If you
spread.
think about it, because it's
Just an
spread.
interesting.
Yeah.
It's stuck in New Orleans with when the French, but it didn't spread past that area, the southern part of Louisiana where New Orleans is at.
Yeah.
Southern to mid.
In Canada.
I just want to be.
they
I
came
just
through
want to be
Canada.
clear. I know that the story didn't, but I said what I was
Right.
meaning is there anything in the story that says he can't travel?
There's nothing that
elsewhere?
says he
why
can't.
not?
Well, there's nothing that says he can, but there's also to me, it's more evident that they would have said that if that's part of the thing. Like, no matter where you go,
Okay.
the Rougarou can get you.
Okay, so it's it's
a
more of
Rougarou.
like you got to be in the swamp.
because that's
I
where
think-
that's where he comes from. So he's got to be relatively close
Yeah.
to the swamp. He can't fly. He can't do anything else magical. He's just,
Well, we just have to be clear that the Rougarou is specific to Louisiana. The Lougarou is more of the traveler
it's a werewolf.
who came from France.
Right.
Yeah, he's kind of all over the werewolf, but the Rougarou is
Okay.
his own specific thing. It came from so the legend came from the Lougarou, but the Rougarou is its own.
Well,
That's
all
Louisiana. Lougarou has everything.
Yeah, it's not too much different. And the main, like I was talking about with the Cajun accent. So it's most likely Rougarou was just like Rougarou. It was just it's not Rougarou.
It's a Rougarou.
Rougarou sounds easier to say. And there's a bunch of words like that in Louisiana. And so I remember we drove there one time, and the last stop we made was just outside of like where it starts to become East Texas. So maybe probably outside of Houston. So same accents, like Texas accents. I can hear it. Accents I've heard. And then we drove for like 8 hours straight, nonstop. And I stopped to get gas in Louisiana. Not kidding. I thought the guy was speaking a different language to me when I went inside to like pay for gas. It's not a Southern accent.
No,
It's a different accent. And
not weird, but it's different.
It's like Creole.
Very.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, Creole. Yeah, Creole. There you go.
it's a completely unique accent.
Like dirty French.
It's like French mixed with Southern English. It's kind of, I guess that's what you'd get. But the Lougarou is supposed to be the same thing as the Rougarou. It's just called Rougarou because they change up word. There's a bunch of words that they say.
Yeah. It's probably
It's just
what happened.
easier
Yeah.
to say it.
That's what happened.
But you just said it was a totally different. You're contradicting yourself, Gene.
No, it's the same
That's
thing.
what
It's the same thing. They just named it. They named
That's
it.
what
They came up with their own story.
No, you said the Rougarou
It's the
was
same
different than
thing.
the werewolf, though.
I said the Rougarou itself belongs to Louisiana. Everything else is the Lougarou. It's the same thing.
Nobody calls it the Lougarou.
Obviously, in Louisiana, they
Why-
come up with their own little stories and trends. Because the Rougarou deals with a lot of witchcraft and voodoo, whereas the Rougarou deals with like God and Catholic Church and stuff like that.
So
there's small there's slight differences.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why do I feel like as if I was a casting director, I think Snoop Dogg would be
he would
like,
be a perfect
Dude,
Rougarou.
for sure.
wasn't Snoop Dogg in a scary movie? Wasn't he
like a vampire
He was in
movie or
some
I
something?
feel
scary
like he
movie.
was.
He kind of has the Rougarou vibe.
He does
I'm
have a
feeling it.
Rougarou vibe.
Yeah, but the voice is too high though. It's not. I want like American Horror Story. What's the guy? The one that they did in New Orleans, but he comes from like he's the keeper of hell. Oh, what's his name?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I don't know his name.
That's
Bones.
That's how I imagine the Rougarou. It's exactly
Is that the name of the movie?
Oh, Bones. Yeah, there was something.
Wait, where is it?
It's super
Yeah.
cheesy.
Bones. Let's see. A good starring rapper Snoop Dogg as the eponymous Jimmy Bones, a good-hearted murder gangster that rises from the grave to avenge his death. The film is homage to blaxploitation films of the 1970s and incorporates numerous elements from the genre.
I remember
Nice.
some of it, and I remember thinking like how horrible it was.
Yeah, it was initially
I
met
don't
with negative
remember it.
reviews.
I could picture like the
A
commercial
dismal box
or like the
office
trailer, but
performance.
I don't remember watching it.
What
But it's been
What's it got on?
praise.
What's it got on Rotten Tomatoes?
Rotten Tomatoes. It's a cult classic now. Let me see on IMDb. Will you give me the? Let me go to Rotten Tomatoes. Let me pull it up. Let me pull it up. Bones. You have to watch that. Bones got a
Right.
23% Rotten Tomatoes score. What is that, splatter percent? So, yeah,
23?
23.
Horrible.
I've heard worse.
I've heard worse for sure.
It's bad, but I've heard worse.
I've heard worse. It's a cult classic.
That's how it happens.
Snoop Dogg's gonna be the next commentator for whatever sport. I don't know if y'all saw the UFC.
He did.
fight.
He did
Or
pretty
not
good.
UFC, the boxing
Yeah.
match.
I did see.
And he was
Yeah.
a good commentator. Excellent.
Killed
commentator.
I didn't hate it. Yeah.
He was high the whole time. I loved
I
it.
loved how they kept cutting freaking Sugar Ray Leonard off. Like that
Same.
so obnoxious. Would just in the middle of a sentence, well, thank you. Let's go over to Snoop to see what Snoop has to say. What do you feel about the fight so far? And they would just cut him off like obnoxiously. This is the only professional boxer on the like group panel. So bad. Well, oh no. Well, I mean, well, out of the next style bender or whatever is out of Zanya, out of whatever his name is. That dude's a UFC fighter.
Oh, I didn't
Oh,
know
okay.
those guys. except
I didn't know
Snoop.
that.
You don't
Just
know
Snoop?
Sugar Ray Leonard?
Oh, I know
Yeah.
Sugar.
Oh no,
Ray
no,
Leonard. I didn't know.
I
Is it
know-
Sugar Ray
I
Leonard or
didn't
Sugar Ray
recognize
Roberts?
him.
I think it was Sugar Ray Roberts. No, what's his name?
How many Sugar Rays are there?
There's two.
It was Leonard.
There's two Sugar Rays. There's
What about the
It was
Sugar Ray,
Leonard.
the singer?
Hey guys, it was Leonard.
that's Stingray, bro.
No, there's Sugar Ray. Wasn't there a Sugar Ray
Sugar.
music
Yeah,
artist?
Sugar
Oh, I
Ray
thought-
with Mark McGrath.
That's a Sugar Ray you're talking about. He was commentating the fight.
Mark McGrath was there with his eyeliner, his famous eyeliner.
And Mario Lopez
Okay.
probably got paid the most.
Dude, he looks younger than all of us, and
Yeah.
he is like
That
triple our
motherfucker.
age.
He looked not a day older
Hate
than like his 20s or 30s. It's
Yeah.
obnoxious.
For anybody wondering how
That's
I did
so
that,
crazy.
refer back to our Bloody Mary episode.
Oh.
You'll know exactly why.
I wouldn't doubt it.
No offense, Mario. Sorry.